talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. I'm Steve Pannone. We're coming to you live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road. And, Coach, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. That was a heck of a game on Saturday night. I always talk about road trips. It makes for a really good ride home. I text you after the Colgate game, 4 hours after a win. That was the fastest 2 hours I ever got home in my life after that one. 52-45. The Cats win it in overtime to advance to 4-0. And I'll get a little nostalgic. Since the program's brought back, I've probably missed 4 or 5 home games since it happened. I'm thinking the 6 overtimes against UConn.
Right.
The comeback against Delaware at PPL, which is now Talent Energy Stadium down in Chester.
Right.
There's a few more I'm sure I'm missing. But just talk about the ebbs and flows in that game. You guys go up, you go down, you turnovers, you get a turnover. Talk about what your thoughts are. Let's start in the first half. We've got so much to talk about. You guys start fast.
Yeah, that game, as you said, had every emotion you would imagine on both sides of the ball for us and for Towson. It really started out very similar to last year. We jumped up on them last year. Actually, we got to 14-0. This year, we scored, they scored, we scored. And then there was 5 consecutive punts. And, we had a 14-7 advantage. And then they came and had a nice drive. And when I looked at the stat sheet afterwards, you almost don't realize how the game went. It was a lot of quick scores. I think our longest drive, as far as time, was about 4 minutes. I think their longest drive from a time of possession was under 3 minutes. So there was some quick strike type, big plays, big chunks, and those type of things. And, then they got that 28-21 halftime lead. So we jumped up. They came back. We evened it up. Then they took the lead in the halftime, kind of like last year, as you said. So that first half was a lot of back and forth, give and take, and so on and so forth. And they had the advantage at halftime. And then we get to the second half, and we scored on our first 2 possessions, and we took the lead. And then, we got into the fourth quarter, and, we took a 42-28 lead. And then it went sideways on us a little bit. They had a nice drive and got a score, and then our next possession we threw an interception, and they scored on that. And then before you know it, within a minute of time possession being off the clock, it's tie again after having a 14-point lead. So it was really a lot of, as you said, ebb and flow, ups and downs. And, just thankful that we could put together a really nice drive that we'll talk maybe in detail here in a second on the last drive to tie it up and then get it into overtime.
Yeah, we talked the ebb and flow of the game, but I thought a huge part of it was, the way the game was going, your defense comes out in the second half and gets a stop. You're down 7. If Towson puts the ball in there, now you're down 14. You guys turn around, go right down the field and score, and you end up taking a 14-point lead. Let's talk a little bit. Your first 3 games have kind of gone according to plan. I guess if you're coaching, you can map it out. Hey, let's score first. Let's get stops on defense. Let's get a halftime lead. Let's play 4 full quarters. Now, in this game, you got some turnovers, which you hadn't had. You got behind, which you hadn't seen, and then you had a lead, and you lost a lead. So talk about the character of your group, the emotions on the sideline, the thought process of your staff, and what you're going through, and all those things are happening.
Right, yeah. Someone asked me that yesterday. Someone I can't remember who it was. They called me, and they said, did you know your team was going to be able to handle that or handle that type of adversity and so on? And my response to that was, I don't think you ever know how they're going to handle that situation until you face that situation. Sure. And as you mentioned, in our first 3 games, we didn't have that. You know what I mean? We did jump out early. We had early turnovers that we converted into points. We had leads at halftime and so on and so forth. So we didn't face that type of adversity that we faced on Saturday. And my other answer was I was really proud of the team and proud of the way the staff handled it, because everyone kept their composure. Everyone just dug deep and pulled for each other, whether it was, offense getting behind the defense getting behind the offense. Obviously, the whole team getting behind the special teams when they had to go make that field goal. And we missed the one at halftime, if you remember. We had a chance. They scored to take that 28-21 lead right before the half with seconds on the clock. We had a great kickoff return by Des Boykin to get us past midfield, and we could have gotten 3 points within the last 3 seconds of the first half, 49-yard field goal, and it went just wide left. Drew hit the heck out of the thing and had great contact, and it looked like it was going to go in, and then it went just wide left. So, for Drew Kresge to be faced with that 10 seconds at the end of the game at a 45-yard field goal to force it into overtime after missing the 49-yarder in the first half. Just great character and great grit and great resiliency from the whole team and him, just to be able to go in there and put that through at the 45-yard line with 10 seconds on the clock in regulation.
And leading up to that point, as we'll go to that last possession, you're facing 4th and 10 inside your own 15. You convert that. You get another 4th down that you convert. And these are, obviously these are opportunities that you don't want to be in. You don't want to have to convert a 4th down on your own 12-yard line to get a first down. But talk about your offensive execution. Daniel Smith buying time, doing what he needs to, your offensive line giving him that time. And finding, I think Kirkston on one of the plays, and then he ran for another to extend those drives and give Drew that shot late in the game.
Yeah, that last drive, we ran the most plays in that drive than any other drive in the game. We ran 14 plays in a minute and 28 seconds. And, we probably in hindsight, and we talked about this as a staff yesterday and today, in hindsight, with that new rule in football, you can fair catch the kickoff and get it at the 25. But we had a couple good returns.
Yes, I think
so we were hoping to get another good return. Unfortunately, we had a block in the back on that last return, so we started at our own 7. If we fair caught it, and you got to catch it too. You can't, if you muff it, fair catch it and muff it at the 2, then you're starting at the 2. So you got to execute the fair catch.
And you do save yourself a few seconds of the play. And all that.
The clock doesn't run, so you save the time, which is probably why you would do it in that situation with a minute 38 on the clock. And then also, as long as you catch it, you get the ball to 25. So you know what your starting field position is as opposed to hoping you have a good return or something like that. And as it worked out, we ended up with terrible field position at our own 7-yard line. And 3 incompletions later, we face a 4th and 10 at our own 7-yard line. And then Dan, as you mentioned, bought some time. Kirkston did a great job getting himself open. We converted that 4th and 10 and kept that drive alive. The next play, we hit Hayek on a 26-yarder to our sideline. Our wideouts did a phenomenal job catching the ball and getting out of bounds as opposed to trying to get the extra yards. We got to that last 4th down. It was 4th and 2.
Yep.
And we're like, okay, do we kick it now? Do we kick a 51-yarder? Or do we try to go for the first down? And, we talked about it on the headsets because we had some time to talk about that one. We burned our second of 3 timeouts. And then, Coach Bowden, Chris looked at me, I looked at him, and he's like, hey, I think we can get it. So we're like, let's go for it. And that's when Dan picked up 5 yards to convert that 4th and 2, which got us closer.
Yeah.
And now then we stalled on the next 3 plays. We didn't get another first down. So we line up for the 45-yarder, and Drew put it right through the uprights, which was awesome. It was funny, too, because Drew missed that one just before half. So I wanted to have a quick conversation. So at halftime, we're in the locker room, and I said to him, kind of in jest, but just to make sure he's okay mentally, you know what I mean? And I said, hey, Drew, don't worry about that one. We're going to give you another opportunity to line up and kick it next time. Instead of being before the half, it's going to be to win the game. And he didn't win the game, but he put us in overtime to give us a chance to win the game. So after the game, obviously everyone's excited about the victory and all that. I said, hey, you didn't follow script. You only tied the game. You didn't win the game. But it was a great kick, and, to his credit, like I said.
You got to be proud of Drew. We'll talk about the maturity of your team and how these guys have kind of progressed. He had some growing pains his first couple of years, and we've kind of seen him mature as a kicker and go through these things. And you couldn't be happy for a kid to see him go out there at that stage. He's got 87 other guys counting on him to knock it through and give you guys a chance to win in overtime. We'll finish up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll finish up on Towson after this. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. back talking Villanova football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming to you live from the Inn at Villanova University on County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, the game goes to overtime. I hadn't realized we hadn't won an overtime game since 2010. It had been a while since we played an overtime game. And you guys get the ball first. Explain that there's a coin flip. Kind of explain the overtime rules for some of the fans that might not be up to snuff on that.
Right, different than college and the NFL, obviously. Yeah. So when you get to overtime, there's another coin toss. And if you win the toss, most teams will elect to go on defense first because then you see what you need to do to match it. Each team's going to get a possession. It's at the 25-yard line going in. So for a lot of teams, you're already in field goal range, whether you get a first down or not. And then, you try to score this touchdown versus the field goal, but you're in pretty good scoring distance already. So you usually elect to go on defense first, which Towson won the toss. They went on defense first, and then you get the ball. Then, so we started out. Thankfully, we started out the first play with a 23-yard run by Cov. Covington did a great job, so we get to the 2-yard line. And then the next play, we have, a play-action pass that Dan rolls out and takes it into the end zone. And, so now we're up 7. So now Towson's going to get an opportunity to have the ball. And they now know they need to. Field goal does nothing for them.
Yeah, that's why they want to go second because they know they need to touch. So on 4th down, they have to go for it because they need 7.
Right, and they had a 4th and 1 at our 7-yard line, and they elected to pass the ball, and they had to take the whole thing to replay. So the ref called incomplete, so our sideline goes crazy. But then they clear them to put them back on the sideline, because they had to go to replay to make sure that Leatherbury, their wideout, didn't execute the catch and made sure the ball did hit the ground on that. And, then they talked about it for a little while, a little longer than I would have liked. And, but then it came out in our favor. So our team got to do another celebration. They run out the field for a second time.
I felt bad for the guys that ran out in the field and then was, you didn't win yet. You got to wait a little while. All the guys had to run back and then they got to do it again, as you mentioned. But Coach, let me talk about an overtime. I know coaches and teams talk about they have 3, 4, 5 2-point plays in their arsenal that they'll use. Do you guys have you have an overtime play sheet? I mean, you say, here's what we like to do. I guess it's the red zone, or here's what we like to do. Or is it more like this is how the game's been going? We're able to move the ball on the ground, so we're going to run it?
It depends. Probably a combination of all the above. You have your, area of the field, red zone, as you said, or short yardage goal line menu, and you have your 3rd down menu, and you have all that stuff. And, as the game's going along, by the time you get to overtime, you probably have a general idea as to what has been working for you in that game or what maybe you're going to stay away from and so on. The 2-point menu that you just mentioned, because of, again, the new overtime rules, you have to have a much larger 2-point play menu. And what I mean by that is, so let's say it continued to go. Let's say they scored and then nothing, whatever. And once it gets past the 2nd overtime period.
So the start of the 3rd overtime.
You have to go for 2. There's no longer a placement kick to get the 1 point. You have to go for 2. So any game that goes beyond 2 overtimes, you better have a larger menu of 2-point plays because that's what you're going to have to do the whole time.
And philosophically, so I don't know, you're getting ready for a big game, obviously, but like Delaware plays Penn. Penn scores with 2 minutes to go down 1 at Delaware and decides, we're going to go for 2 and try to win it. They don't score, and then Delaware ends up winning the game 28-27. So, I mean, philosophically, had Towson scored, they would have had the opportunity to go for 2 if they wanted to. Right. If they converted, they win the game. If they didn't, they would have lost. More than likely, you're kicking the ball, and we'll play another series and go from there. But you do have the option of going for 2 if you want to.
You can do that whenever you want. You can go for 2 anytime at any point in the game. And then, certain games like the Penn-Delaware game, non-league game, Penn wants to win the Ivy League championship. Yep. That game doesn't do a lot. Kind of like our philosophy a couple years ago when we went 2nd overtime to Syracuse. It was a Friday night game. It's 11:30 at night. We got a 4-hour trip home. We got a conference game the next week.
We try to win this thing.
We went for 2, and we came up short, lost the game by a point, and really thinking about, we got to have our guys fresh for next week because it would have been a great victory, but it doesn't do anything for you in conference or anything like that. And the main goal when you're in a conference is to, win your conference and then hopefully, in our case, make it to the NCAA playoffs.
And the Ivy League doesn't play in the playoffs, so it's really, as you mentioned, it's the 7 Ivy League games that they play every year that really matter for them. So, Coach, I guess to talk about a little bit now, your guys are 4-0. A lot of people talking about your football program. Back in July, there wasn't a lot of buzz around your program. How do you handle that with your team?
Well, our team's been handling it be honest with you, and they've been doing a great job. The thing you hear coaches say all the time, but our guys are buying in, is we got to focus on us, not necessarily who we're playing or all that stuff. Rankings, preseason rankings, I say all the time, preseason rankings are based on last year's performance. So preseason rankings don't really mean anything. You got to get into the season, and, as the season progresses and as you go week to week to week, now you start building your resume, and, thankfully we're going in a real positive direction right now. But our guys have been real level-headed. It's been awesome. Our senior leadership, our captains, our older guys that have been in the program for a while, they're doing a good job in coming to work every day and working hard and punching the clock and not getting too crazy about some of the outside noise. It's really what's happening within the confines of our facility, and we're just trying to take them one at a time. And like I said, our goal is to get 1-0 each week, and that's our approach for this week coming up.
We talked a little bit about Daniel Smith and Justin Covington. Jaron Hayek had a big game, but we're going to bring up it after our quick break here. We're one of the guys that's opening up those lanes for him, giving them time to throw it, and getting those the receivers time to get downfield. We're going to be joined by Paul Gratton after this break, one offensive 3-year starter on the offensive line. So we'll take a quick break and then bring Paul up. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We are live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is being presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, we're joined by one of your big guys up front that opened up that hole for Dan Smith to go for a long touchdown. His 3-year starter, Paul Gratton, out of Pittsburgh, right? That's football country, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And Paul's been a 3-year starter for you. Tell us a little bit about Paul, Coach.
Yeah, Paul came to our summer camp, and Coach Reed recruited Western Pennsylvania, still does at the time. And, you know, we evaluated Paul live and thought he did a really nice job in camp, and then obviously watched his film. And we offered him a scholarship, and I'll let Paul tell you the rest as far as the recruitment process, because I can't even really remember, to be honest with you, what other schools may have been involved and so on.
So I had a lot of interest from the MAC. So I had Toledo, Bowling Green, UMass was pretty interested, and then a bunch of CA. So William & Mary, Richmond, pretty much almost everywhere in the CA. So
yeah, and then we got the offer out to him. Probably when did we offer you? Was it after the summer workout? Obviously.
Yeah, it was right after the camp. So right after the camp, I came up, and then Coach Reed came up to me after practice, after the camp, and he was like, "I think you just won $250,000." So it was pretty nice.
That makes two parents real happy. I know that for sure. That's got to be great news. But Paul, talk a little bit about the process in terms of you have great schools, you have great quality of football at all the institutions you mentioned. What made Villanova the right fit for Paul Grattan?
So for me, first off, my sister went to Temple. She was a volleyball player down at Temple. So my freshman year, she was a senior. So it was really nice. It was close proximity to her, so that was a nice plus. It's only 4.5 hours from Pittsburgh, so it was also pretty close compared to some of the other schools. And then schooling, I mean, just like the education. I came here, I saw all the facilities, and I saw like all the great things a lot of people did with their Villanova education. And my mom, of course, she really pushed Villanova pretty hard.
Good.
So
that's a smart woman.
So we decided. I visited, and I loved it. There was just like a certain feeling whenever I stepped on campus. So I was like, this is it. I like it here a lot.
Coach, how would you describe what kind of player is Paul? You coached the offensive line for a long time.
Yeah. Paul is typical O lineman, down and dirty, has a lot of grit, a lot of intensity to him. Love the way he plays hard. He's played two different positions for us. He's been our starting center, and now he's our starting guard. And basically, I wanted to ask you that question: How do you feel now that you're at guard, having been at center? Do you have a preference? Do you miss center? What are your thoughts about playing those two positions?
I like guard a lot more.
Oh, really?
It's much easier to come off the ball and just I can play more physical, and I can play faster, a lot less thinking, and I can just go with my instincts and play really well. So.
Yeah, because as we all know, and the quarterback's the center of the offensive line, and he's got to get up there and make all the calls. And Colin Gamroth's doing a great job for us right now with that area. And as Paul says, he's not a thinker, man. He's a bruiser. He wants to get after it. You know what I mean?
I love it. So Paul, in terms of we talked, it's not really a senior heavy laden team you have. You're one of the more experienced guys, certainly up on the offensive line, but really on the roster. What does that mean? You take on an added role of leadership with your group. I know they always talk about offensive line being a close knit group of guys, and talk about your unit a little bit.
So for the offensive line unit, we have three redshirt juniors, me, MJ Dumas, and Nana Kofi Apia. So us three, and then I have the most experience, MJ, and then Kofi is. So for us, all the young guys look to us three to show them the right way and how to do things and how we handle our business in the offensive line room. And then as a whole team, I think I take a little bit more of a role, not as much as Cov or Chucky or Forrest, but I take a little bit more of a role to try to coach up the younger guys and make sure that everybody knows the Villanova way of how to do things and how we care and like how we take care of all of our business.
Well, Coach and I were talking earlier. It's such a big adjustment going from high school to this level of college football, and you see it more like a kid that can come around. It's usually at wide out, maybe at receiver, maybe in the secondary, not so much in the interior line on offense or defense. And you're talking about these young guys that are used to playing. Some of them maybe redshirt, and some are not quite in the rotation yet. What is the kind of things you need to say to them to keep their mind right? Keep them saying they went from king of the castle in high school. They're knocking everybody over. Now it's like I got to wait my turn. I'm not quite as strong as I used to be. Those kind of things. How do you mold those guys? And probably you went through it your first year as well.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is they learn through experience. So the first day of pads, you get hit on the by a couple defensive linemen, a couple linebackers. You're like, wow, all right, this is a completely different game than what I'm used to. Everybody's good in college. You come out of high school and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm pretty good at football, and then you come to college and everybody's really good at football. So it's a learning experience. But for whenever guys come up, everybody usually has a pretty humble attitude, and they're ready to put in that work, and they see all the work that needs to be done, and they see all the older guys working hard, and they see how much effort actually it takes to play at this level. So,
and a lot of times, just from our recruitment of offensive linemen, it's harder for a true freshman to play, because a lot of times we'll take guys that are 250, 260, 270 pounds coming out of high school, which sounds like a good-sized guy, but it's not for this level. You know what I mean? And, we offer guys in the summer of their going into their senior year, and they're 248 pounds.
Yeah.
And then when they show up on our campus a year later, they're 265 pounds. And they just need that year of development still in the weight room and obviously mentally learning the system and so on. And, then they get to be
300
pounds.
Look, you mentioned that, like, I don't know if it's a philosophy or, but I hate to use the term, but you don't see a lot of, well, I'll use the word, like sloppy guys. There's not, you see guys that go from 255 to 300. You don't have a lot of kids coming in at 295. I guess maybe some other programs take them and they're not available, but you seem to do a great job molding these guys at 250 to 255. We talked about the job that Coach Tucker does and getting these guys to where they're able to go out there and compete every Saturday.
Right. We want these guys a lot of times we're looking for the guy that can move his feet and be athletic and then build them up physically. If a guy's already 290 and can move the way Paul was moving at the high school level, he's probably going to go to the bigger schools. Yeah. To be honest with you, he's going to go to the Michigans and the Penn States. He wouldn't be hearing from the MAC and the CA. He'd be hearing from the Big Ten and the ACC, and then we wouldn't have gotten him. But, in that 250, 260 pound range guy who's 6'3", 6'4", has good height to him, and then plays well and has the intensity and tenacity that we're looking for like Paul does, okay, we'll take a guy who's a little smaller at the time, I guess, redshirt him, build him up in the weight room, and, here you go. Now we're going to have a guy who, he has another year of eligibility after this year. This is his third year starting already, and, can be a 4-year starter in our program just by hard work.
And a great career. Paul, I'm going to ask you, did you play any other sports, and did you play defense in high school?
I played a lot of defense in high school. My senior year, actually, I was all conference in defense, not offense in high school. So, and then other sports, I tried track a little bit. I didn't really like it that much, and then I played baseball through middle school. But didn't stick with it. I wasn't too good at swinging the bat and catching.
And a lot of the offensive linemen we end up with did play D-line in high school. Again, that just speaks again for the type of athleticism that we're talking about and that we're looking for.
And Paul, as you get ready now for Maine, it just keeps coming in the CAA. As you've known, you've been through the battles now. You win a wonderful road game against a top 5 team, and now you got a top 15 team coming in. Coach Ferrante's kind of talked about it, but he's not in the locker room all the time. He's in there a lot, I know. But what's the guys? What was the mindset? Let's say you celebrate for 24 hours. What's the mindset at that lift Sunday night, say, or at the meetings on Sunday night for your guys?
Maine doesn't care that we beat Towson. Nobody cares that we beat Towson. Nobody cares that in the CAA that we beat Towson. They were number 5. Now they're not number 5. Now we're up in the rankings. None of that really matters to us. It's just preseason rankings. We were 9th in the conference, and so we have that little bit of chip on our shoulder, and we're ready to play some football.
Sounds good, Coach.
Sounds good to me. He's listening.
Maybe you don't need to go in the locker room.
Right. Let them handle it.
Well, Paul, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. I want to wish you luck on Saturday. We're going to take a quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located on 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. know I'm supposed to read something, but you got to love Ryan fans. He contains his emotions so well. You got to love that. We're actually live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste in only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're actually joined by Coach Ferrante. Coach, we're going to be joined by one of your offensive linemen who graduated last year, is now a member of the Saints 53-man roster. Ethan Green is two-time All-CAA player in 17 and 18. Ethan, thanks for joining us.
Ethan, you there?
Good. You hear me?
Oh, yeah,
there
we got
go.
you now.
A little bit of a delay, but we got you.
Big E. Big E, how you doing, man, down there in the Big Easy, down in New Orleans? Huh? It has been. Well, you've been busy. You've been busy, you know? So, hey, appreciate you joining us tonight. And we just had Paul Gratton on. I don't know if you were able to listen or not, but, you know, Paul is obviously a lineman that we just spoke with and currently on a roster. You know Paul really well. And Paul, as MJ and Kofi, and we were talking, Steve, came in as freshman, redshirted, you know, played scout team, learned the system, so on and so forth. Big E, on the other hand,
Doing right in the fire.
already coming in at 300-plus pounds, you know, goes against our recruiting philosophy a little bit. But, yeah, bro, were you ever 260? I'm not sure when that would have been, but but Ethan, you know, did fit the mold of being a great athlete. You know, I saw him play basketball a couple times, you know, so you have a 300-pounder bringing the ball up, shooting three-pointers. And
Imagine guarding that guy. Oh, my
right.
God.
And he told me he could dunk. I don't think I've ever seen that one yet, but but great having you here. Why don't you share with everybody the roller coaster ride, if you will, of you graduated. You know, you finished your semester here, your senior year in the fall. Then you went and trained, you know, for the All-Star game. You played in the East-West game and getting ready for the combine and getting ready for the draft and all those things. So why don't you take everybody, for those out there that don't know, what it's like, because your training started, you know, right after you were done with our season in November. You go home for maybe a little bit of a break at Christmas, and then you're right into training. So why don't you pick up, where'd you train? Where'd you spend the second semester of your senior year training? Why don't you share that with everybody? And then, you know, give us the All-Star experience, the Combine experience, and then the draft experience, if you can do all that.
Yeah. All right, definitely. It's a process, as you know, but I started off basically, I'll say around, like I said, after the season. Moving like I was just getting ready for the process, and I trained in Atlanta actually for about 2 weeks before I had the East Shrine game, and I'm sorry, years actually not bad. That's kind of my bad. But I was in Atlanta for a long time training in the for the East Shrine game. It went really well, obviously, but it's just obviously the roller coaster. Like the biggest problem with me is I had a torn labrum going into everything. Like that's what kind of really
right.
Just a big red flag and everything in terms of like me being able to get ready for the combine, me being full for the East Shrine game. So it was kind of rough. But then obviously I persevered through what I had to do. But going into the combine after the East Shrine game, I played pretty well. I was all over the place. I had me playing left tackle, left guard, right tackle. I was just everywhere. But Villanova prepared me for that because during the season I had to do that because we had guys injured and stuff along those lines. So it was really good. And then going to the combine, the combine is an experience. Coach Ferrante told me Project Time told me it is a heck of an experience because you just like you think it's obviously on TV, it looks really nice, but the guys are hanging out, just having a good time running around, 40s, but they're waking up at like 4 a.m. You're doing tests, you're doing interviews till 12 a.m. at night. And then you got a bunch of MRIs, stuff along those lines, and it's obviously, I loved it. I'm not traded for the world, but saying I'll do it two weeks in a row, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, they challenge you.
After that, going into the draft process, I knew on most of the teams I had a really good grade. Almost every single team I had a draftable grade, but the problem with my labrum, I got surgery in January. I wasn't able to run or anything in the combine. So guys, they knew what I could do on the field, but obviously they want to see numbers, and obviously if you're investing that much money into something that you want to know what they're going to perform, what they're going to do for you. So I knew it was kind of, my agent told me it would be a process going into the draft. Like my grade was round 4 through 6, but with the injury, I got hit pretty low, so I went undrafted, and that process was cool because you had a lot of guys. A bunch of teams just hitting me up talking about, hey, we want to bring you in. You got to see who really wants you in and who really needs you in a way. There's a difference between guys who just want to try you for a body and guys who really want to look at you for a high pick. And I knew what I could do, and the team knew what I could do as well. So I was pretty confident when I chose the Saints. I knew they liked me a lot. I talked to them. I met with them. They came to Nova, and that process was just. It was interesting, obviously showing up, being a new guy, being obviously undrafted, a different mindset than if you're a first, second rounder. And it was a hectic process, but I was able to get it done.
Right. And when you going back to the East-West game, in that game, I remember watching it, you played two different positions, so that had to help your marketability for sure. You played guard and tackle, left guard, I think, and right tackle in the East-West game. So that had to help big time. And then, like you said, going to the combine but not being able to perform physically probably takes it in the other direction, so that's kind of a little bit of a negative. But man, how many interviews, how many teams did you interview with at the combine? Because I've been out there before, and as you said, they hammer you, man. They get after you mentally, they prod and poke you physically, and make sure that you're healthy. But how many interviews did you have?
It's crazy. You walk into something called the train station, and you walk in there, and it's just like a frenzy. They all just grab you, they pull you, they're waiting in line to talk to you. And I would say every single team I interviewed, even some teams I interviewed more than one.
Right.
All 32 teams. It was just crazy. But what helped me is, because I went to the East West Shrine game, I also got all my interviews out of the way, so most teams didn't have too much to ask about.
Right.
Which is really nice.
Right.
And I know like some guys, like you have a junior coming out, and nobody really knows who you are yet. You're there till 2 a.m. just doing interviews and stuff like that. It's rough. Right.
And then we get to, getting drafted, as you said, you're free agent. You get to pick kind of the Saints, you and your agent doing your research and pick the Saints. So preseason, as everyone knows, starts with a roster. Every team has 90 guys. And then by the weekend of Saturday, Labor Day weekend, they got to cut from 90 to the active 53. And you made the Saints active 53. When did you get that? Give us your how did you hear about that, and then how did you feel, obviously, when you found out you made the 53-man active roster?
Yeah, the craziest thing about that is when you make the team, they don't tell you the thing.
Right.
What they do is they have I know there's some rules that like by 4 o'clock Eastern time.
Right.
They have to make all their teams on a set Monday after the last preseason year. And then I knew that like I missed almost every single preseason game. I didn't do OTAs because of my shoulder. Then I had surgery, a minor surgery on my thigh during training camp. So like I missed a lot of time. And like I didn't know how the coach viewed me on that and how they thought. So going into it, and I even talked about that, so they're probably like most likely practice squad guy because they kept you around, but you haven't really showed yourself. So, but when I played pretty well. I had a lot of decent practices. When I did play, I had a pretty good half of the game against the Dolphins.
And that was the last game.
I was sitting there for the phone call. I never got one.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on? Like, any news? He was like, hey, if you don't get a phone call, you're on the team.
Yeah. Right.
The ultimate of no news is good news.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And yeah, if you get past.
He called me and he was like, yeah, like, what's the news? I was like, I don't have any. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, yeah, that's good.
Right. Right. Because I think the rule is that by 4 o'clock that Saturday, they have to let everyone know who they're letting go. They have to release the guys. So if you don't get that call, that's a good thing. You made the 53-man. And then by 1 o'clock the next Sunday, all those guys that got cut, each team can pick up 10 practice squad players. So if you got the Saturday call, that's not good, but now you're waiting to hopefully get a Sunday call to be pulled back on a practice squad. So that's a good thing that your phone wasn't ringing.
And I guess, though, like, obviously the other teams are letting players go. They can bring the Saints can come and sign somebody on Sunday, too. So you're always worried about who's getting let go from other teams. Ethan, can you
every single week you gotta obviously you made the team once for week 1, but like everybody knows the NFL, you can be out of here the next day and you really don't know. You always gotta prove yourself every day, perform, because they got college guys coming in almost every other day, training out, trying out, seeing that they can fit better for the squad. So
right,
you gotta come in there and play.
Ethan, we're going to take a quick break. Can you hang with us for one more segment?
No problem.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Talking Villanova football. We'll be back with more after this on the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Randers. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Randers. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're joined by New Orleans Saints offensive lineman Ethan Greenidge, as you mentioned, a two-time All-CAA player for coach, a 2018 graduate.
Yep. 4-year starter, did a great job for us. Secured. Well, he played right tackle early on because we still had Brad.
Yep.
You know, big brother Brad at left tackle. And then when Brad graduated, we moved Ethan over and he protected the left side. So, hey, E, before we broke, we were talking about, you know, the 53-man roster and how you made it and so on, and, you know, those guys that get released. You must have done a phenomenal job, as you said, in the limited amount of opportunities you had practice, and you only played in that last preseason game because they kept him on the 53-man roster. And if they released him, now he's free for someone else to pick up,
sure,
you know, on their practice squad or something like that. So congratulations on, you know, obviously that part. But I'm sure a lot of people out there assume that all 53 guys dress every week. Only 47 or 48 guys are allowed to dress on game day. What is that number?
I think it's 46.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
46. So that's even less. So you haven't dressed yet, but you're still, you know, obviously on the active 53-man roster. You think you're going to get an opportunity, you know, as the season progresses here to maybe suit it up and get out there on game day?
Yeah, most definitely. Like, obviously, like, the difference between NFL and college is that the season's twice as long.
Right.
And obviously, twice as long time like that, obviously, guys are older and they get more wear down and stuff like that. So, probably through, like, I would say if a guy needs a rest or something like that,
Sure.
I keep developing the way that I need to develop. And they probably definitely throw me out there and trust me enough to help them get a win and stuff like that. So, obviously, my position right now is more, they wanted to keep me on the roster to develop me, get me going, because obviously, like, coming off an injury still, I still got much to learn. Obviously, CAA obviously a heck of a league, but definitely a big jump to
Right.
the NFL, which is cool. But
And what positions are they?
I definitely believe so. By the end of the season, I'll definitely get out there.
Good. What positions do they have you working right now?
So during camp, I was mostly a right guard, but in the preseason game, they had me left tackle, and now I'm backing up left tackle right now.
Okay, good. Well, it's always good the more you can learn because, do you guys only suit up? I know a lot of teams only suit up 7 linemen total for game day. So you have the 5 starters, someone's going to be the backup center, and then another backup guy. So there's not many guys that suit up. So if you can play guard and tackle, obviously that increases your percentages of, getting out there on a Sunday and suiting up.
I didn't realize 7 guys were the.
Yeah, I definitely. They told me that I need to know all positions outside of center, just because if you want to dress, you got to be able to do more than one thing. So.
Right.
Hey, Ethan, tell us a little bit about your week. In an NFL week, obviously they play their games on Sundays, and what's your week like before getting ready for Sunday?
It's kind of similar to college in a way, but obviously a lot different in the same way. Yeah, we got a day off and stuff like that, but obviously preparing for the game is it's a lot more complex in a way. Obviously there's so much more that goes into an offense, into a defense, into the preparation of it because of the type of people you have and the type of the atmosphere that it carries and the things that come with it. Obviously, the NFL. So we got practice at the beginning of the day. We got meetings. We got a bunch of team lists. Everything's kind of similar. It's just upper level, like you know.
What time do you have to report to the facility, and when do you get to leave?
I should be reporting around. We have our team meeting around 9:00, and then we got to leave probably around 5:30. So it's a good 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's a job. It's a job. So all those hours in college where you're spending in the classroom, you're in the facility and either in the weight room or in the classroom over there, but it's all football.
Yeah. That's what you would think. Obviously, in college, you just got practice. You got meetings and practice in the beginning of the day, and we probably start around 6:30 in college, but we finish around 12, and we got class and stuff like that, and we'd be done around. For me, I was done around 3 o'clock because I had a lot of class in my senior year. But with this one, obviously, there's a class in football now.
Right.
And you're in there all day.
Yeah, it's your job. It's your job,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
What day?
Most kids think they go to the NFL and it's just no more class, it's just easy day, practice, and you're done. Oh, you're right back in class.
Well, the one thing, and I don't want to say the one thing because there was multiple things, but one of the biggest things that Ethan was phenomenal at early on is watching film on his own and self-study. And a lot of college guys, I don't want to say struggle with that, but when you balance the classroom and your academics and the writing of papers and studying for tests and all that, and then the practice time and the hours that we're allowed to utilize with them, there's not a lot of time left to do that self-film study and all that. And Ethan found that time whenever he could, and he's done a phenomenal job. So sitting in the meeting room and watching a lot of film for you, is not out of the ordinary because you did it when you were here.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I remember we had that talk when me and you freshmen there about what I can do to just get myself better and how to get an edge. And one thing you always told me was film. I can really watch myself and watch others, and I actually, because the thing about that, you guys, what I learned in college, you guys support practice. Obviously in high school,
right?
You're practicing. You can have horrible technique, horrible tape. You don't really even know because you don't do that. But you always taught me to get in there, watch your technique, and do what you have to do. So I used to watch all day practice. I'll do that all day. It was such a natural thing to me because it was like you didn't have the access. I just took advantage of it, and it definitely helped my game a lot.
No doubt.
Heath, we're all real proud of you. I'm going to wish you luck. And the Saints, you got an outstanding team. If you get Breeze back, you guys could make a run to the Super Bowl. But we're all here pulling for you. Want to wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Appreciate it. I'll catch you guys. And, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, E. We'll see you soon.
I want to take a quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Coach, it's Maine Black Bear time this Saturday at the Villanova Stadium. The Black Bears come in 2-2, 0-1 in this CAA. Played a hard-fought game with Towson a week before you guys played the Tigers. First-year head coach Nick Charlton and a local quarterback named Chris Ferguson. Yeah. Expect another typical CAA battle, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's no rest in this league. There really isn't. Maine has a phenomenal defense. Ferg's leading the conference in passing yards. I think he's second in yards per game only because the Rhode Island guy has one less game under his belt. But I think as far as total yards in the air, Ferg has the most. He's from LaSalle High School, a local guy. We definitely knew about him coming out, looked at him. It was the year we recruited Kyle McCloskey, and Kyle committed early, so we were kind of done at the position, and Ferg landed up at Maine. But he's done a great job developing. He's played as a freshman, and now I believe he's his junior year, and he's doing a really good job up there. They have a dynamic returner / wideout, Ernest Edwards. He had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown this past weekend against Colgate. The score was 35-21 was the final score, so those 2 touchdowns obviously made a difference in that game.
He caught one as a receiver as well, too, right?
And he caught one as a receiver early in the game, and, he's returned one against us a couple years ago. So he's a real dynamic returner. I think he broke his own records up there as far as kickoff returns and so on. So they have real good skill at the wideout. Their running game is really starting to come on strong. When you watch the first 4 games they have, they've really got a run game that's starting to develop. And then their defense is good, So it's a typical CA opponent. They got guys on defense. Taji Lowe is a guy that's a linebacker, has been there for a number of years. Manny Patterson, I feel like he's been there almost as long as I've been here. He's been playing secondary back there for a long time. And they do a great job. And, again, no matter who you're playing in this league, you just have to be ready. I'm glad we're home. We have family weekend coming up, so we're expecting a really nice crowd. And, we're looking forward to getting back into our stadium because it's been a little while. We've been on the road a little bit, but our guys have handled it well. And, now we're just looking to go out there and hopefully play a clean game.
And now you get a 3:30 start. You had the noon. We had a bunch of 6 o'clocks. Now we go to 3:30. How does that affect your game day, if at all?
Hopefully not at all. Hopefully not at all. We'll have different timetables for things, and our preparation throughout the course of the week hasn't changed. We practice in the morning, so I was more concerned with those 6 o'clock games. Are we going to be sluggish? Because we don't see them at 6 o'clock. They come down the training table during the week, and then they take naps. I'm not sure what they're doing at 6 o'clock on a normal work week, and then we got to go play a game on Saturday at 6. So I was kind of glad that those 3 6 o'clock games were in a row. Yeah. So we got in a little bit of routine there. And now we have 2 3:30s in a row. Our home game for family weekend, then we're going to William and Mary, and I believe it's their family weekend. So maybe the consistency there will help. But we're just excited to play. The time of the day doesn't matter. Noon game, 1 o'clock, 3:30, 6 o'clock. We just got to be ready no matter when you roll the ball out.
And I think what's great, you talk about the family weekend. We were down at Towson last weekend. It was their family weekend. Just the atmosphere in this league. You talk about the crowd sizes and just the atmosphere. When Drew Christie came out to kick that ball Saturday night, that place was rocking. Mm-hmm. And just on top of what he did against that kind of setting was really special. But the league is just special. You talk about Maine was picked 10th last year. You guys are talking about you guys were picked 9th. They went to the Final Four. They go all the way to the semifinals. So that's when somebody asked me that in the preseason. Well, Villanova was picked 9th. CA is great as always because Villanova's a good team, and if they're 9th, that means there's a lot of other good teams in this league.
Right, and you just got to be ready. And like I said about preseason rankings and predictions and so on, a lot of that is, okay, what did they do last year? How many returning starters do they have this year? Okay, then they're going to be pretty good again. Yeah. Well, even if you have, which you never do, all 22 starters back, 11 on offense and 11 on defense, and add the kickers and punters, so 24 starters on back. 1 year to the next is never going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. I mean, I'll go back to 2009 to 2010. 2009, we won the championship. We had a lot of juniors on that team. We had a lot of people coming back for 2010. We finished the regular season at 7-4. Yeah. Thankfully, still made the playoffs and had another opportunity to go into the playoffs. But, it's not the same, even though a lot of the pieces are the same. So every year is different. Yeah. The graduating seniors are gone. The incoming freshmen are new. So you have 3 classes that are the same, but it's different.
And especially with football, I'm not even going to use the word. That I word can get in there, and that screws up everything.
Right.
So we won't even want to go there. So, Coach, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. That wraps up Talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite, the original light beer brewed for more taste and only 96 calories. Miller Lite, hold true. Thanks to our hosts here at the Inn at Villanova University. I want to thank Joe Gaines and Ryan Lennox back at the studio. Big one on Saturday. Get out to Villanova Stadium or tune in to 610 ESPN when Villanova takes on Maine this Saturday. Game time is 3:30. The pregame show will start at 3:15. Our next Talking Villanova show will be next Tuesday, October 1st. For Coach Mark Ferrante, this is Steve Pannone. Thanks for listening to 610 ESPN.
You've been listening to Talking